Hey guys, welcome to this week's free YouTube lesson. So this week I've been working really hard on a brand new part of my website called resources. So this week's lesson is going to center around that part of the website. So let's head over to the computer and I'll show you what's going on over there. I'll see you inside the internet. So as we can see, we've got the bondtuition.co.uk website loaded up here in the browser. And if you head up to the resources section right in the middle on the top bar of the website, you can see the brand new part of the website that we're chatting about in this week's free YouTube lesson. So there's 4 different sections to this part of the site. We've got ear training, scale diagrams, free guitar lessons, and free guitar jam backing tracks. So if we head into ear training then, as you can see here, we've got 5 different exercises, all designed to develop your ear and to prepare it for guitar playing. And at the bottom we've got a very extensive list of musical intervals compared with famous melodies, so that you can use this list to help you recognize different intervals when you're training your ear. So back to the exercises then. Exercise 1, recognize intervals. What we're going to do then is listen to a sound clip here, which is myself playing a whole bunch of different intervals, all compared to an A root note. So we don't need to play through the whole thing, but here you get the idea. And this goes on for a couple of minutes, and it's just 1 octave range intervals, all compared to an A root note. And if you struggle with that, you can always have a look at the list down at the bottom, listen to the interval and try and find a melody that you know and tie it in with the interval. It's a good way of learning to recognize intervals initially. Exercise 2, recognize chord types. So what we've got here is another audio recording of myself playing a whole bunch of chord shapes. And the chords that I've used are major, minor, major 7th, minor 7th, and dominant 7th. Again, we don't need to listen to the whole thing. It goes on for a couple of minutes, and the idea is that you listen and try and recognize the chord type. Pause the track if you need to, refer to your guitar if you need to check your answer, and then let that develop your ear so that you can always recognize different chords instinctively. Exercise 3, improvise to a random chord progression. This is a great exercise that I do with a lot of my private students and my online students. And I often do it in my own practice routine as well. And the idea is that you take a completely random atonal chord progression. Atonal meaning that it changes key all the time, it never stays within one key. So let's have a quick listen to that. So again, we don't need to listen all the way through, you get the idea, but the exercise would be to improvise to this chord progression. Surprisingly difficult because you've got to develop your sense of tonality all the time, listening to those chords and seeing whether what you're playing sounds right with the given chord. So exercise 4 then, sing along to an improvisation. So again, we've got another audio recording here, which is an A Dorian backing track. Those of you who've been checking out the free lessons for a while might recognize that backing track, since I used it a few weeks ago for one of the lessons. And the idea of the exercise here is you play an improvisation using either an A minor pentatonic scale or an A Dorian scale, and you sing along. Quite simple. Whatever notes you hear yourself playing on the guitar, you sing them as well. And this is a great ear training exercise because you're connecting your own sense of musicality in your head to what comes out with your fingers. So it's good for your ears, and it's also great for your phrasing because it forces you to put logical pauses in your phrases so that you can breathe, so you don't suffocate, which would be no good. Exercise 5, sing scales over different chord types, and the idea is that you play a major 7 chord and then you try and sing an Ionian mode. Check it with your guitar if you need to. Try and sing a Lydian mode, and again check it with your guitar if you need to, and do the same for a minor 7 chord and a dominant 7 chord. So that's the ear training section. Get a lot out of those exercises and they'll definitely help to develop your ear. Scale diagrams is the next section then. Let's check that out. And in this section of the site, I've given you some different fretboard diagrams for the different types of scale that I use most frequently. It's fairly extensive, and they're all from a C root note. So we've got C major, C natural minor, which is the Aeolian mode, C harmonic minor, C melodic minor, C harmonic major, C diminished scale, and that's the whole half version of the diminished scale, and C augmented. So you can use these diagrams to familiarize yourself with those scales and all of their respective modes, and just use them as reference as well if you're jamming to some of the backing tracks here on the site or working on some of the lessons here on the site, and you can always refer to these fretboard diagrams to guide you. Back to resources then. We've got free guitar lessons as the next section of the resources part of the site, which is referring to these exact free YouTube lessons that you've been watching here. So if I click on that, it takes us to my blog here, and it arranges all the blog entries based on the free guitar lessons. So it's basically a back catalogue of all the previous free guitar lessons that I've uploaded to YouTube, so you can scroll through and check out what we've been up to in the recent weeks. Cool, back to resources. The last part of the resources section is the free guitar jam backing tracks, which is cool. Basically, we've got 3 different backing tracks here, all different styles, all different tonal settings. The first being a static Dorian vamp. And again, you've got a sound recording, and then we've got suggested scales that you could use when you improvise over this backing track, which will all work. The next free backing track here is the C major 251 backing track, which incidentally comes from my 251 backing track collection pack, which is in the shop. And again, we've got suggested scales to play over this backing track. And the very last one is an A minor reggae backing track, which I've been using with some of my private students and some of my online guitar lesson students, which is a very simple reggae groove. And again, I've suggested some scales that you can try and play over that. So that's the new resources part of the website. This is going to be constantly developing, this section of the website. So keep a close eye on it, because there's going to be loads of cool things that are definitely going to help you to develop as a player here. If you like the website, you can see up here, there's links to like it on Facebook and to Google+1 it and to tweet it as well. So go ahead and do that if you enjoy the material. That's all.